And we are live.
So do you want to tell as the millions pour in from around the world, do you want to tell them about your near mugging story, which turned into a
well, story? I mean, I don't want to quite put it like that, but I was walking down the street in Finsbury Park because I had to get a train from Finsbury Park.
Finsbury Park is
quite naughty, actually. Quite naughty. It's kind of, it seems to be an Arsenal area, and there was an Arsenal game on yesterday. And there was lots of people.
Well, it's where the hook-handed preacher used to do all his. Do you remember the hook-handed preacher who looked like Captain Hook, who used to do all his flags and his sermons?
Yeah, because there's the mosque around there, isn't there? I think. But So anyway, so I'm walking down the street, and there's a pub on the corner, which is like seems to be an Arsenal pub, and it's full of like fans and stuff. And it was all a little bit rowdy. I mean, nothing bad happening, but it was all a little bit, people having a few drinks and stuff. And these two blokes come down the street coming towards me.
Mm-hmm.
And two black guys, as it happens. And they were sort of, I don't know, man. I mean, they were wearing the Arsenal stuff. They were looking a little bit tasty. Do you know what I mean? Like, you probably wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of them. Let's put it like that. And they were kind of looking at me, and I was just like, whatever. I just carried on walking. And then one of them, he's like tapping me like that. And I was a bit like, oh, is shit, what's going to happen now? Is this going to go off or something? And so I was listening to music. So I take the headphones out. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, Troy Francis. He goes, I've seen your stuff. Your stream's fucking good stuff, man. So we just had a bit of a chat. That was it, really. But it was, interesting, the kinds of people that our message is going out to. It's good, isn't it? We're bringing in a whole, diverse bunch of people into this.
I had a similar thing when I was living in Deptford with an ex.
That's a bit tasty. That's a bit tasty down there as well.
Yeah, same gig. Like a guy who's dressed in, quite a big black lad, quite messy looking, tats on his face. Stopped me in the doorway coming out of a newsagent. I had I think Lucozade Zero. Or I was hungover, like normal, the old school Lucozade, whatever the flavor was, the red one. It was really addictive, that one.
Yeah.
It was like, I love your content. And I was like, went from heart attack to, oh, great, man. Shook his hand. And he went, carry on doing what you're doing. Almost like a bit of a threat. Like he was a friendly guy, but quite menacing. So it was like, he was trying to get me compliment. It sounded threatish. He must have robbed quite a few people in that vein. But it was like, I love you. Help me get over my missus. I left the council flat and all this stuff. And I was like, fuck, if I met him if I wasn't producing content, it would have been a mugging. So thank God that was the Lord's work in action, right?
We just saved by the fact that we put out this stuff day in, day out. So no, I mean the guy who stopped me, he was really friendly. So obviously, if he's watching, it was good to meet you. But I don't know. It's interesting, isn't it? The kinds of people, because it happens occasionally. I mean, obviously, not trying to make some big celebrity claims here, because obviously we're absolutely not that. But occasionally, people will come up and. It's quite interesting, the sort of diverse people that actually do come through, isn't it?
I mean, look, I think people often find this stuff when they're in pain. They've either been dumped by a girlfriend, cheating on a girlfriend, or they just kind of fed up with their lives and it's time for a change. And I think some of the content we produce, especially Chin Wagging Away, is kind of, it's the sort of stuff we would like to have probably seen if we were coming out of a messy breakup.
Yes.
Or I would have liked to see that didn't exist back in the day. I had a crumpled European porn mag, or the game, crumpled version of the game. That's all there was. So this is the sort of stuff where it's like, no, this is an uncomfortable journey. Get out the fucking house, make something happen, Yeah.
Well, I saw a good comment from the other day. I was going to send it to you, but I saw a good comment from somebody. This came through about a month ago, but I just saw it. He says, I very much value having these daily live streams. They help more than words can explain, and will no doubt help both of you attract more clients due to the exposure and volume you guys drop. Real gems, which show people you're the real deal and assures the people to choose yourselves as coaches. So he's kind of fluffing us here a little bit to say, to hand over their hard-earned money, etc. But he's basically saying, I quite like the bit about you drop real gems and you show you're the real deal. And I think there is something about live that does that, isn't there? Because videos are very curated. Like, it's very easy to sort of curate a video, talk a good game on the video. But when you're live and you're just having a conversation, I think something more real comes through there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's nice of Les to comment like that. I wonder which account he's using to boost the algorithm.
And then later, and then I came back through Finsbury Park in the night, like some hours later, and a bloke offered me crack. So,
and did you obviously accept it, or?
I took his number. He said, "Have you done it?"
Good.
He was like, "Have you done it? Have you done it before?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, yeah, I got, yeah. Me and crack go back a long way." And he goes,
Crack.
because he was asking me if I was police. He's like, "Oh, you old Bill?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, would you if I got you some now, would you smoke it in front of me so I can see that you're a regular user?" I was like, "No, I've got to do a live stream tomorrow, man. I don't think I can smoke crack." So
he sounds like the old version of me. He's such an enabler, like giving out drugs and making sure people have a really good time. I always used to do that, have loads of pills and be like, "Yeah, take this one, because I wanted people to get as high as a kite as well as me, you know."
There was basically what happened. There's a bunch of dodgy looking characters hanging around outside Finsbury Park Station. I walked past, and this guy like clocks me, and he asked if I want anything. He comes over, and then we got into this thing about crack for some reason. But he seemed oddly sort of concerned because he kept asking me, "You've done it before?" and all that kind of stuff. So first he was concerned that in case I was a policeman, and then he seemed concerned about my well-being, which I didn't think that drug dealers really were, but I'm nice of him, I guess. I don't know, guys. If anyone here's bought crack, maybe you can put your experiences in the comments.
See the terrible quality, so he's checking that you won't know, or he's like wants to make sure because it's the best quality that you have a really good time. Or that's probably, is it more likely to be the former? Probably.
I think they probably. I guess they probably. I don't know, man. Maybe they don't want people dying on their watch, but I mean, why would he really care? Because how's it going to connect back to him anyway?
Well, the only drug dealer that's ever seemingly cared when I was in Mexico City, and I happened to be given some OxyContin, hillbilly heroin. If you see the movie Superbad, it's like all of these college kids will pop it. So he gets you it's an opiate high, so it's a heroin-like high. And he was like, "You've just got to take a quarter. Just make sure you take a quarter, nothing more." He's very concerned.
It's funny how they all have this sort of London accent, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. He's probably had some Mexican. Hey, can't do a Mexican accent. But he was genuinely concerned.
Robbie Williams has a story where he said his drug dealer, because he was obviously doing loads of coke and everything back in the day, and his drug dealer said, you know what, Rob, if things ever get really bad for you, and he thought he was going to say, I'll get you help, or I'll look after you, or whatever. And he goes, I'll still keep selling to you, mate. Don't worry.
There you go. That's a professional drug dealer for you. So I was actually asking because we've had an influx of Aussie clients, bizarrely, and the client that I came over, he's an Australian guy from Sydney, came over to Rio Carnival, did a bit of coaching there. We did some reps for Carnival. Then he went off to Argentina. Recently saw him again in Sao Paulo, and now he's heading back to Australia, having done a number of approaches. I said to him, why has there been an influx of... Yeah, go ahead.
Incidentally, just to link back to the previous thing, I'm told by a friend that there's a place called Crackland in Sao Paulo.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true. Maybe we can check it out. Anyway,
I've got a hunch that you may be hunting for that based on this conversation when you fly to Sao Paulo shortly. Just I'm not sure why.
I'll call my sponsor after this.
My Mystic Meg style crystal ball is sensing you've got crack on the brain. Yeah. So anyway, Mr. D will call him. I said, why are all these Aussies getting in touch? Because we've got a lot of Aussie clients now coming over, joining us in Latin America the next few months. And he was like, well, you're not American, so you're not totally ruled out but by being retards, but you are POMs, so you're a bit suspicious. But you're better than Americans because we vibe more. He was speaking for the Australian people, I believe. We vibe more with the British banter, the British sense of humour, because it's similar to Australian. And I'd say it is similar to a large degree. Yeah. Kiwi, Australian, British humour is it's self-deprecating, isn't it? It's not taking itself too seriously. Whereas Americans, it kind of falls on flat ears. I drop all sarcasm when I go to the States because it just goes literally right over the heads of people I'm talking to, or they take it really personally. So maybe that's why, because ultimately it's the banter. But it's a good point. But anyway, we had our final session walking around a shopping mall in Sao Paulo, and I said to him, right, Mr. D, you've done about 140 approaches now within about a month. And his previous thing, so just to give a bit about insight in him so guys can relate, he's 42, decent looking rooster, in good shape, dresses well, got his shit together, largely as a guy. And he works in tech. So he gets contracts, tech contracts, IT contracts, stuff like that. But he's not a geeky guy by any means. Definitely logical, definitely overthinker probably.
Yeah.
But a good sense of humor, good energy to be around. His lifetime approach count had probably been around 100, but very sporadically over the age of 40, you know, over 42 years, over 10, 15 years, whatever. He dates a few women. This is the first time he'd done around 140 approaches in a month. So this is a kind of a condensed period. He's done the same amount of approaches in a month as he had done over his entire life. So I said, Mr. D, any lessons from that? Anything you've kind of discovered along the way? Because it is a journey he's committed to. He's going back to Australia today, I believe, on a flight. And he's going to go back to doing contract work for 6 months and then fly back to Latin America. So we're going to keep him consistent. He's on a group with us. But I said, right, what are some lessons you've learned from doing 100 approaches that maybe you could pass on to guys watching this who are like, oh, fuck, thinking about getting out of the house, but don't know what to expect from 100 approaches. Maybe some key things that might make the journey a bit smoother. Because ultimately, it does suck a bit at the beginning. You are going to approach a lot of women. You're not necessarily going to get anywhere. It's just the skill set, isn't it? The process. Like anything, if you're learning guitar, you're not going to be suddenly great at guitar. You're not going to be rocking up on stage like Metallica, are you? You're going to be getting slightly frustrated, but sticking with it. That's kind of the same with this, isn't it? Or would you say actually you can get some immediate success?
Well, the thing with this is because it's so random that there is a chance that you could start doing this in your first or second approach. You could meet somebody who just happens to really like you, and you end up.
It does happen. We've been there with clients where it does.
Yeah, so it's not. It is. There's a good analogy to say learning guitar, but it's not exactly the same because like there's no way on planet Earth that I would pick up a guitar and then suddenly play some amazing, rock solo just a couple of days in. But you could, with approaching, because it's based on so many different variables, you could just luck out and meet somebody in the first couple of approaches. But that could be a poison chalice as well, because then you'll probably end up in a relationship with her, because that's what happens to most guys. And
it definitely is a poison chalice, because we've seen that happen to guys. We've seen them disappear into a relationship for 2 years and come back out and they're like, fuck, I'm back to square one 2 years later. Right, time to do the second approach.
Yeah, you know? But if you avoid that trap, it's that there is the chance to make some early wins for sure. You know, it doesn't. It's because it's quite random, so it doesn't have to be. Oh, I had to grind for 5 years before. You know, it doesn't really work like that quite with this stuff, does it?
No, it doesn't. You do get some early wins. You can get, and actually, when we've taught clients who, and no respect to Mr. D, he's got his shit together, but we've taught some clients who really have their shit together. We're talking large salaries. Yeah, you know, they've done some stand up before, really jack, good looking dudes, and just quite alpha anyway. They banged a lot of women, but they've never approached women in the day. They will typically get success quite quickly because it's like a signal you're putting out. So when you max out all the stats across the board, as well as the social skills, you typically get results faster because women just see. I think women are tapping into your emotional vibe you're giving, but it's also a signal, isn't it? Yeah. If you've got all your shit together, they can just see the value, they can sense the value, and then they're just like, yeah, I'm in.
So because there is a subsector of guys, clients, who actually most of the stuff is dialed in. It's just that they haven't cracked the approaching the social skills part. So when they crack that, it's a much easier transition to success. Whereas there are other guys where there's a bit of work needed in a whole bunch of different areas. So obviously for them, it's likely to take a little bit longer.
100% agree. So the 5 points, without further ado, that we've built out. The core message of is this, just as you're listening. So most men don't fail because they can't improve. They fail because they misinterpret the early stages of learning. Most men don't fail because they can't improve. They fail because they misinterpret the early stages of learning. So point number 1, fear is self-judgment, not reality. So the fear isn't the woman or the situation. It's what does this say about me if it goes badly? Most men are scared of feeling awkward, looking stupid, confirming a negative self-image. So one bad interaction becomes, I'm not good with women. That's the real problem. So it's the story we attach, isn't it? Because if they haven't had much positive reference experience with women previously, then they go up and get a few rejections. They turn that into, I'm a complete fucking loser. Yeah. This becomes this self-perpetuating spiral of negativity, isn't it?
Yes. And these are points that he basically gave, were they?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So,
well, he didn't. We built that out. I wrote that out. But the first point was the first overall point he gave was fear is self-judgment, not reality.
Fear is self-judgment.
So, for example, we have all these fears like, we get into the conversation with the girl, and if it doesn't go well, we create all these negative stories about what a fucking loser we are and how unattractive we are. But we also do it the other way around, he said at the beginning, which is if you get success, you're like, oh, I'm an absolute god. So the emotional swings with attachment to stories are really high. But a lot of it is self-judgment. Like, you just assume it could go terribly wrong, but ultimately it's all linked to looking stupid, feeling awkward, or confirming a negative self-image. These are all these stories that are conjured up before you approach the girl, or even after the approach, right?
So is it that fear of, if I approach her and she says no, then that's going to confirm my own feelings that I'm a piece of shit, and I don't want to, that's going to make me feel really bad. So I think so. Yeah, it's that kind of thing, isn't it? And it does. Yeah. Unfortunately, it does, because if you
and it does. No, there's no cure. Fuck.
Well,
okay.
No, but all right, it can do. Because if you've had a really negative self-image all your life, and then you go up and talk to a woman and she's like, looks at you like a piece of crap, and then kind of just gives you the brush off, that kind of just confirms your own internal voice, doesn't it? What you don't realize though, is that her opinion is statistically irrelevant, because she's just one person, right? And there's like 4 billion women on the planet. She's one woman who's given her not even opinion. She's just given, she's done something in the moment for whatever reason. We don't fully know, because we can't see inside her brain. Maybe she's in a bad mood, whatever. And then you're then using that to justify all the negative self-talk that you have about yourself, which is obviously, when you zoom out, it doesn't really make any sense, but emotionally, it's very obvious why we do that.
You talked about this a lot, which is because you had one bad reaction from a girl, you just assumed all women thought the same as her, didn't you?
Yeah.
All women would find her attractive. And I actually thought a similar thing, which is because I just didn't have any reference experience. Get rejected by a couple of birds, just assume to the global population of women, I'm just unattractive, which has no basis in reality, does it? No,
it really doesn't. But I think it's, I know why I thought that, because, I was at school, I was living outside London, I was in a pretty small town. Wasn't many people around anyway, so your pool was very low, so you couldn't see the vastness of the human race. I mean, you might theoretically know it, but you can't really see it. And I just had this idea, which sort of logically makes sense, I suppose, that women are probably all looking for a similar kind of thing. And so if you don't measure up to that for one woman, then you're probably screwed for all women, because if even she didn't like you, then there's no chance all these others will. It seemed to make sense to me at the time. It doesn't really quite make sense to me now, but I can see why I thought that, particularly, and this is the other thing, because coming from a smaller town, and a lot of guys who watch this stuff, they live in a small town, they've been rejected by the cutest girls in the vicinity. They can't really get a break, and they think that's everything. They think, oh, right, so dating's completely screwed everywhere, all over the planet. And it really is.
Right.
It's that you haven't stepped outside of your immediate surroundings enough.
Well, the other point to mention, which is why they have a negative self-image, is because typically guys haven't approached, so they haven't confirmed they haven't got reference experience success with women, because most men have never bothered to actually do the rep. So of course at the beginning you're going to have these negative stories attached, because you haven't got any evidence to prove the contrary. We've both slept with enough women now where if we get a few bad reactions, we know it's probably geared around our state, not around, oh, we're horrendously unattractive to women, because we've got enough reference experience to know that's not actually true. Now, you've got to factor that in with the fact that most women are not going to be interested in you as well. And that's okay, but that's not personal. That's not low sexual availability. You're just not her type. Her dog just died. She's not in the mood. There's a variety of reasons why most women are not going to go for you most of the time, but it doesn't mean you're a horrendous, unattractive loser to the female species necessarily. It could do, because we had a client who couldn't get laid for 10 years, right? But he had some serious issues he had to work on that he just didn't want to work on. This guy giving the lessons does not fall into the category of serious issues to work on. He's actually quite good across the board. But he's just lacking reference experience.
Worth saying though that guy, it's not about physically being not good looking. I mean, he's not physically unattractive, is he?
I'd say he's at least 4 points better looking than Les.
So physically, he's a all right looking, decent looking guy. The issues we're talking about are mindset issues, really, aren't they?
mindset and just a bit awkward, like hasn't worked on relaxing himself in social situations, and also just basic things like I think he was clearly low testosterone, and he also dressed terribly, dressed like a wigged out hipster, and it just wasn't. There are a number of reasons why women were, but even he actually was getting into conversations, and we were in Mexico City when he had some breakthrough success. He fucked a girl the week before, and then he was going on 3-4 instant dates because we were working on this stuff. So doesn't matter what position you're coming from, this can be worked on. But the key thing is drop the negative stories. I think that's the point. All of the fear we have about self-judgment and we link in is just your brain wanting to keep you safe. By saying, oh, I'm a loser, don't approach anymore, it keeps you safe because it keeps you in your comfort zone. But don't listen to the brain. It often lies to you. Your thoughts are not reality. They're recycled egoic junk most of the time, designed to keep you safe, because it's not. The brain is built to keep you safe. It's not built to allow you to push the comfort zone and level up. Right. So we use any sneaky mechanism to trick you into going, don't approach more, including telling you you're a loser and no women will want you, just so you don't approach.
Well, that's the other thing, because in a way, and I did exactly this myself, that thought of, oh, well, she's blown me out, so therefore I'm a loser, so therefore I'm horrifically unattractive and nobody on the planet will ever like me. That's painful, but in a strange way also quite comforting, because then you can sit in that and you don't have to do anything.
The victim cage, isn't it? The Lana Del Rey, put that on and sit at home weeping, go
home, put some Lana on, masturbate soulfully. And it's just sit there in your own misery, but in a way it's quite comforting.
Well, it's safe because it's the place most men know, and when you decide to rip off the shackles and take some action, yes, it's uncomfortable, but it's the hero's journey is never going to be comfortable, is it? Especially the social hero's journey, learning this stuff. So expect a lot of weird shit to come up. That's okay. But what's not okay is just not taking action. But this is why it's super important to track the people.
Gooning over your ex to Lana Del Rey.
Yeah. But this is why it's great, Mr. D, track the approaches, because it keeps you sane. It's a bit like sales, because at the beginning of the sales process, they call them KPIs in sales. You track how many calls you've done, how many callbacks, how many closes, how many sales. It's the same with this stuff. At the beginning of this skill set, because it's a skill set called approach, you're going to suck more, so your ratios will be lower. When you get good at this, if you're tracking approaches to phone numbers, to dates, to taking the girl home, you will start to see patterns getting better over time. And it keeps you sane, because you just know if you do a certain amount, I know, and if we do a certain amount of approaches, it's a new girl in our bed. And for us, it's around good stats, which we still mirror, is around 1 in 30 approaches. So if you approach 1 in 3 women we approach, and again, we're running game here, so the girl is younger and hotter than us. Not hard for you, for the girl to be younger, or me actually at this stage. But yeah, decent looking women, no big game hunting, Mr. M style. If you're watching with your tranquilizers, darts, and your lassos, no catch of the day, no hog roast. 1 in 3 of those approaches we do as a phone number. If we get 10 numbers, phone numbers, we go on 2 dates, so 1 in 5 ratio. And out of the 2 dates, we sleep with one of those women. So that equates to every 30 women we approach, there's a new girl in our bed, on average. You go to some places like Rio Carnival, Day of the Dead in Mexico, big parties where people are pretty promiscuous, or as a white guy, you go to a place like Scandinavia, as a foreigner, or Thailand. Yeah, your hit rate can be higher. We've had clients sleep with a girl every day there. Right, but the average, say you're roaming around an attractive city,
global average.
Yeah, Barcelona or Moscow or even London, right? You'd expect 1 in 30. Now guys are going, oh mate, that's horrific. I guarantee you, if you swipe through Tinder, it will probably be like 1 in 1,000, right?
Yes.
And if you go to clubs, you're going to get blown out a lot more. You can comfort yourself because you can numb yourself with alcohol. But you could pull a girl home fast, but you're going to be doing a lot of approaches. The key to this stuff is lean into the word game, as in it should be fun. Make socializing, to quote Trump again, a spin-off of Trump, fun again, right? Banter, tease, self-amuse with everyone you get the chance to constantly. And then it's just no big deal to do the reps. And the key number we're aiming for is around 3 approaches a day. That gives you a minimum of 20 a week, 21 a week. That's what you want to be playing in to be playing this game. So it's not all doom and gloom. Point number 2. Oh no, so sorry, the notes. No, that was it. No, okay. So we go on. Point number 2, your state is not your identity. So men think I'm confident, I'm awkward. Wrong. You're just in either a good state or a bad state. As Tony Robbins said, you know, you're not one way, you're just the states you're in. So, for example, most people will wake up in a negative state. Like I always wake up fucking negative and ruminating, right? But if I hit the gym, have a black coffee and walk outside in the sunlight, suddenly my mood is totally different. So just think about how you are throughout the day, right? You're not a loser or confident. You're somewhere in between, and you can get yourself into these better states. Guys watching, you probably had good interactions. You probably had bad interactions. You're the same person. You're not different. The state changes. Identity gets wrongly attached. That's why guys quit too early. So yeah, I think, being aware of state, being aware that you can go out and not want to socialize at all, but you throw yourself into 2-3 conversations, especially night game, and suddenly you're really feeling it and having a great time. But you're not always going to feel like that. And remembering, doesn't matter how social you've been the day before, when you go to sleep, when you wake up the next day, you're going to go back to a relatively antisocial state. And your job is that day to just walk out the fucking house and just talk to people again. So I make sure when I walk out the house off this live stream, I'm going to head to the gym, probably grab a coffee on the way. I'm going to say anything to the person serving me the coffee, male or female, just to get myself, open myself up socially. And I'm going to then go into the gym and say one extra thing to the person letting me into the gym. And it's not about their reaction. It's about getting myself open for the day to be social. Because then if I see the cute girl, way less of a big deal to actually say hello.
Well, it's like, just say one extra thing. So that, the dealer comes over to me. Do you want some powder? I'm like, yeah, man. Have you got any rocks?
Have you got any crack?
yeah. It's just like, just say one extra thing each time.
Say one extra thing and make it playful if you can, but there's no need to do that. The amount of times it's just crazy. And look, everyone thinks everyone is social outside of this. They're not. Most people are very antisocial. We live in a very socially connected world, and everyone is super antisocial, right? So if you can be the vibe lifter, be the guy that just says the extra thing to people, suddenly you're the most sociable motherfucker you know, because no one speaks to each other anymore, right? So there's not a high threshold to this. Right. And the way to engineer, bring it back to the point, the way to engineer a good state each day to be social is, guess what? You've got to be social. But just say little things to lots of different people, throw out 5 to 10 comments to people, see where the conversation goes. And then when you see that cute girl, or you go for your walk at 4 p.m., which I recommend you do with a podcast, and try and do 2 or 3 approaches, it's not that big a deal because you've already spoken to a load of people that day. If you haven't spoken to a load of people that day, or even that week, and you decide, right, Saturday's my day to go out and do my approaches, put on your lucky day game blazer, go out. It's fucking hard because you've got negative momentum from the last 6 days of not being social. This is especially important for guys that work in, jobs that require you to sit at a computer all day long, tech, things like this. It's less prevalent if you work in sales because you're actually talking to people. But most guys are not doing that. They're working antisocial jobs. You have to go out of your way to be social, especially if you're like 90% of the clients you work with, where you're more introverted anyway. You get your energy being alone. You especially have to go out your way and talk to people. And guess what? The more you do it, the more comfortable it becomes. That's all it is. Confidence is just situational confidence. You do something hundreds of times, it's not a big deal. Does brushing your teeth make you nervous? No, because you've done it thousands and thousands of times. Same with having a conversation. If you do it thousands of times, it's no big deal, right?
Yes, absolutely. It just becomes a default in the end, doesn't it?
It does. And like, if we see a girl now, what's the feeling we have? Say we're sitting recording a live stream in Puru Hotel and we see a cute girl walk out, we're in our suits. It's not really even anxiety, is it? There may be some lethargy there. Or I might go, look at the Magda. It's not anxiety, is it? It's just like, okay. Because the brain knows the outcomes. Fear exists in the unknown. We know the outcome is you walk up to the girl, she either has a conversation with you or she doesn't. You either take a number or you don't, and it either goes somewhere, it doesn't. There's only 6 outcomes it can ever be. So the brain finds safety in that and isn't scared. Fear always exists in the unknown.
That's absolutely it. Because I think now I've got to the point, we both got to the point, I'm sure, where it's like, well, we know that there's no horrific downside to this. So you're
not going to die. The brain knows it's not going to
exactly.
Die.
It's either going to go, she's either going to be into it or she's not going to be into it. And either is okay. So it's fine. But as you said, the bigger problem, and this is maybe a more of a later stage problem, is then lethargy, because it's like, oh, I could do that, but you know,
because it's the same rigmarole, isn't it? It's the same old rigmarole.
Yeah, but that's for a different live stream, because
that's a first world problem to be having.
Yeah,
that's definitely a great, an elite problem to be having. Yeah.
But I suppose the good news for people is, if you are worried about approach anxiety, it does actually fade. It does actually fade when you've done this enough times. It's not, you're not anxious about, oh God, that your ego's going to be crushed, or that someone's going to jump out of the sky and murder you, or anything like that. It does start to fade genuinely over a period of time.
Well, that's point number 3. You basically summarized it. Anxiety drops with exposure, but the issue is most guys quit before it fades. So,
right, yeah. Okay.
So Mr. D did 130 approaches in a month. This is where it starts to shift. Most men do 5 or 10 or maybe 20 approaches, then quit. Right. Yeah. But we're saying do minimum 20 approaches a week, which is 3 a day. And then the rest of the time, actually say stuff to random people. That's what turns you into a social motherfucker. Frequency, right?
Yes. What do you think about? So there's 2 separate tracks here, isn't there? Because on the one hand, there's just talking to everybody. So there's talking to the barista. We
call it banter with the world, I'd say. Yeah.
There's banter with the world, and then there is also talking to girls that you're somewhat attracted to with intent. So there's 2 slightly separate things. Now, when we work with clients, if they're very introverted or they just haven't done this stuff a lot, we will get them to do the first, like go out, banter with everybody, etc., etc. And it's still massively a great thing to do for everybody. Yeah. But you've also, at some point, you've also got to put yourself on the line a bit with this as well, haven't you? Because there's no point like 3 months in and you're like, well, you know, I had a great conversation with the dustman today. And it's like, well, okay, good, because you're being social, but we've then got to angle it towards what's the actual goal in mind here. So you've got to start putting yourself on the line at least a few times a day, haven't you?
Very good point. And Mr. D, to be fair, he's doing it in an ideal way now, because he's going out. I'll see him just getting random conversations with, you know, a person giving coffee samples or chocolate samples in the mall who are not hot, but then the next minute he'll be rolling in and doing an approach. Yeah. So he's blending them as you should do. Go out and just say playful comments to people whenever you get the chance, because it practices the muscle of social freedom. That's what we're training, not filtering what you're thinking and just saying shit as it comes up. And that trains spontaneity and playfulness. Guys are often asking us, how can I be more playful like old Russell Brand or Craig Ferguson? It's social freedom. It's the ability for the brain to say stuff playfully and creatively. Some stuff will land, some stuff won't. So yeah, social freedom. But then also, basically, when you see the cute girl, take the fucking shot. Right?
Yeah.
There's no downside in acting boldly and taking the shot. And rejection is better than regret. If you take the shot and it doesn't go anywhere, you don't care, because what was within your control? Taking the shot, right?
Yeah.
You feel like an absolute weasel if you don't. And yeah, so just to recap the point, the client, Mr. D, did 130 approaches. That's where it starts to shift. Most men do 5, 10, or maybe 20, then quit. Why? Because fear lives in the unknown. Once the brain realizing nothing bad happens, rejection is manageable, anxiety drops. Most men never stay in the game long enough to reach that point. So we spewed out a different point earlier, which is I'm saying you're always going to wake up antisocial, which is true, but your anxiety is about, oh, this is life and death. Those emotional swings drop, don't they? Just your nervous system relaxes a bit. You still have to throw yourself in each day, because you are going to not be very social when you wake up, but that's just the human condition.
Yeah. No, the anxiety specifically around an approach definitely goes down significantly.
And also just a girl flaking on you or dumping you. Yeah, it sucks if you're having sex with a girl you actually vibe with, and if she ghosts you or fucks someone else, it does suck, right? It's always going to, but it's not as life and death as it once probably was when you're in scarcity, because you know you can walk out the house and meet other women.
Yeah, it's a bit disappointing, you know. Sometimes
you're not angry, you're just disappointed. Now it's like a school teacher. It's like, Anna, really, you had to get spit roast by those 2 black guys in the Arsenal shirts again? Like, they were just complimenting me the other day and offering me crack, really? But it's not, you're not angry, you're just disappointed, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, it's just sort of like, you know, sometimes you see someone you really like, you go over, maybe the conversation is quite good, and then she drops in she doesn't, whatever, it doesn't continue, she doesn't give you her number or whatever. It's a bit like, oh, it could have been nice, you know, but it's also just like, well, whatever, on to the next, right?
Yes, because you know there are other women out there, and this is where the chicken and egg thing comes in. If you have to, I understand the struggle at the beginning of this journey. If you haven't got the reference experience, because it is a bit of a hit and hope game, and let's just trust what Tusk and Troy are saying, hoping it's going to work out, but you don't have the actual evidence to back it up yet. But you've just got to stay in the game because there are enough women out there. This is a skill set you learn. If you're also increasing your value across the other areas, you know, your fitness, your fashion, your finances, maxing out the hormones, getting in good shape, all this stuff, then you will get there because you're never going to run out of women. But it's just most guys will drop out of the game quite quickly. They'll come and do a boot camp and they won't. Well, some will stay in. The ones that really are committed will, because the path is laid out. But often it's younger guys that just can't stomach it, I think. But when you're older, maybe mid-30s, which is kind of like ideal fit clients, you're coming into your prime as a man, you realize, right, no one's coming to save me. You do stick in, and you will get there eventually.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
The path has been trod by many a lesser man than you watching right now. Point number 4, your perception is distorted at the start. So the key insight here is the scariest a woman ever feels is before you speak to her. It's true. How hot does that girl look? You know, when you first see her for the first time, because men were very visual. We're intimidated by the visual. It's fertility cues. That's the most scary a girl's ever going to see at the seam. And that's where most guys pussy out because they just don't do the approach. But as soon as you're into the conversation, the beauty like mask starts to fade slightly. You start to just, I don't know, the longer you stand with her and realize she's just a normal person, the more you take her off that pedestal straight away, I think.
Yeah, they start to humanize a little bit in a way. You start to realize, oh, she is just another person. She's just trying to get through like everything.
And they're never that hot up close. Like, however striking you may see, you know, lesser spotted Magda in Warsaw from 20 feet away, when you're actually up close to her, she may still be very attractive, but she's never that hot, is she? She's never as hot as when you first see her.
I think you should always just imagine if they had all their hair shaved off, how would they look then?
Is that your go-to of like bringing them off the pedestal?
No, not really. But I mean, it's true though. I mean, women have a lot of help in the sense that makeup, you know, doing things with their hair, all of this stuff.
They can cheat it, can't they?
It's not that they're not beautiful in their own right, but it's just that sometimes you see the initial thing that you see is sometimes not quite the reality, if that makes sense. Not in a bad way.
100% agree. So the scariest a woman ever feels is just before you speak to her. Your brain builds her up as intimidating, high value, unapproachable. Then you talk and realize she's normal, she's human, she's often receptive. The fear was created before reality. So I've had this loads. I get into a conversation with a hot girl and I'm like, yeah, she's still hot. I found her attractive. But you realize she's got her own flaws, own insecurities, right? Often, honestly, the hottest women you speak to tend to be the most insecure because they've got the most to lose. But also the most down to earth. Typically, when you approach very, very good looking women in cold approach day game, they tend to respond best because they know their own value. They know they're quite attractive. They know it takes balls to approach them. Guys will often take the low hanging fruit, the 6s and 7s, if we're going to use the terminology number wise. But they often give the most polarizing reactions because the guy's rolling up and going, "Oh, you're beautiful," and the girl's like, "Really?" Because her self perception isn't that. So she's like, "Well, it's a bit weird, right?" So.
Sometimes some of the friendliest responses I've ever had in all situations, whether nighttime, daytime, whatever, have been from the more attractive women. Because I think you get the sort of mid-range women, let's say, not super, super hot, attractive, but not super, super hot. And they can be a bit more guarded and a bit more, and probably also they get hit on more because guys think it's a safer bet. So they get hit on more. And also maybe sometimes they maybe have a chip on their shoulder. They quite like rejecting people or whatever, you know. Whereas sometimes the more attractive women don't have any of that, which is really interesting. But it's I don't know, it's something to take some heart in, I think.
Yes, I agree. So yeah, just bear that in mind when you see that smoke show. The quicker you speak to her, the better, because as soon as you start speaking to her, you start to realize she's not as hot. You'll start to pick up her flaws naturally, and up close, no one is as hot as they look from 10, 20 feet away. So super, super important. Point number 5, thoughts don't matter, action does. Most men get stuck in analyzing, planning, and overthinking. Mr. D didn't think his way through 130 approaches. He acted. Action creates evidence. Thoughts create hesitation. If you wait to feel ready, you never move. yeah, I think overthinking stuff is just a chronic issue with guys in this industry or looking to get better at this stuff, because they want to theorize, they want to plan, they want to think, and ultimately you just got to throw yourself in. Action is never comfortable, is it? It's like throwing yourself into cold water. You can kind of skirt around the edge of the pool, you know, throw stones into it, point at it, laugh at it, but until you jump the fuck in, it's all irrelevant because you're not even in the game. So I think be very wary about watching our content, because Mr. D said this yesterday. Yeah, I keep finding myself drawn to the streams, but I feel justified because at least I'm out there doing the reps. I'm like, and I was like, great. And he goes, yeah, but it wasn't the old me. I'd watch content for years on end, not taking action. Yeah, because you think you're putting in the good work to sit an exam for this shit, but there's no exam that you can do where then, you know, 10 smoke shows are delivered into your bed. It doesn't work like that. You've got to go out into the real world. It's messy. It's chaotic. You're going to suck at this stuff at times. You're going to have some embarrassing rejections. Accept the discomfort, but accept the upside's discomfort. All you've got to do is face a few uncomfortable feelings, and then you get hot women in your bed. That's it. If you really think about that, the trade-off is obvious, right? Face some uncomfortable feelings and thoughts, and then eventually get hot women. I mean, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah, exactly. The only barrier is your mind.
The thing is, it's kind of, it's a cliche joke, but it's true, isn't it? You're not sat in a Supermax prison. You can physically go and speak to whoever you want as the playable character, and we just create the brain will create reasons not to do it. Oh, tomorrow. That's one of the brain's best excuses. Oh, tomorrow. No, don't worry about the rep today. Don't worry about that bird. No, let's get it tomorrow. It's fine.
Unless tomorrow. We do have any viewers in a Supermax prison, and if so, welcome.
And also, well done for somehow managing to tune in to a very dodgy, low quality Wi-Fi stream. Like, it's just, you've done very well there. That's great resourcefulness, to be honest.
Well, maybe they're not in a Supermax prison, but if we've got any guys in jail watching this currently, then when you get out, you know what to do. You can email us.
Is there anything you would add to? So, Mr. D, that was his kind of 5 points from the 100 approaches. We'll just go read the titles very quickly, so we just got a reminder of what they were. But from 130 approaches over 1 month, the first time he's really committed to this, 42-year-old Australian guy in Brazil and Argentina. Fear of self-judgment, not reality, point number 1. Your state is not your identity, point number 2. Anxiety drops with exposure, point number 3, but most quit before it does. Your perception is distorted at the start with beauty. Thoughts don't matter, action does. Is there anything else from your own journey? We're going back through the annals here. I mean, this is, 60, 70 years ago. But when you first did your 100 approaches, was there anything you remember as like thinking, or was it just kind of a blur?
The horse and carts used to get in the way sometimes because you'd see a hot guy and then the horse and cart would be coming down the
Victorian era.
Everything was black and white as well. Well, I think you can learn positive things in the first 100 approaches as well. The positive thing you can learn is that the world doesn't fall in just because you go and have a conversation with somebody. And also, often, even if, yes, you get rejected, whatever. I mean, if you could say in any situation, if you don't end up in her bed, then you've been rejected in some shape or form. But there's many grades to rejection, isn't there? And a lot of the time, she can be super flattered. You can tell she probably does have a boyfriend, and maybe if circumstances were different, maybe something would have happened, right? You can tell that she's actually flattered that you come up to speak to her. She enjoyed the interaction. So I was getting little things happening like that at the beginning, which was sort of like, it gave me some assurance that I was sort of on the right path, because you then can see, well, okay, if I just keep doing this, then at some point the heavens are going to align and it's going to work out, right? So, but I think that fundamentally, just the realization that actually you can do this, it's okay, nobody's going to die. That is quite a powerful thing, I think.
Yeah, good point. I think the rejection piece is massive as well, like realizing rejection is part of the game, and it's the thing that most men avoid at all costs, isn't it? But if you're comfortable with rejection and the fact you're not going to get every girl, and you actually prove that to yourself, you're like, it's not that big a deal. It exists way worse in our minds. The thoughts of being rejected are always way worse than a girl just saying, no, I've got a boyfriend. The reality of it is it's not that big a deal. Yeah. Right. Especially if you're building yourself across the board, like maxing out all these other areas, you're on your mission to do that. That's your job, to max out all of your playable attributes, right? Your fashion, your fitness, your finances, living an interesting reality. If you're actually actively working on this stuff and you're going out every day and some girls are saying no to you, you're like, whatever. And you get to almost the point where you're thinking her loss, right? Which is great. But rejection is never that scary. It's only scary in the thought. Once you actually get rejected, it doesn't matter. And the more you get rejected, the more you callous yourself to it and realize, okay, no big deal. Carry on. So I think anything to do with rejection sensitivity, I think is very high when you start this. But after you've been rejected a bunch, you just don't care anymore. You really don't care as much, you know?
Yeah, I think the view I always take is, well, at least I took it. At least I took the shot. At least I gave it a go, you know? And that's actually a much better feeling to have than I should have given it a go, but I didn't.
Yeah, rejection is better than regret, as they say in the industry.
Yes.
So Mr. D's actual stats were he went on a couple of dates. He had a couple of instant dates, I think. He didn't sleep with anyone. His big thing probably, if we're, you know, because guys can probably resonate with this archetype of kind of somewhat overthinker, is just do what he's doing and take the action, keep going, and just try and be playful whenever you get the chance. I think playfulness is massively underused by men. I think there's this fantasy that you can kind of not be playful with people and kind of not talk to people and then suddenly be a world-class flirt and quite charming. It doesn't really work like that. You have to spend a lot of time practicing being playful, practicing being self-amusing. And the way to do that is throughout the day, say stuff to random people whenever you get the chance.
Yeah.
Right. And we're not saying you have to hit on a, you know, try and do some stand-up routine with the old lady at the bus stop with a dog who's scowling at the world. Right. But say you're going into a coffee shop and you sit down, say a couple of extra comments just to whoever's serving you and try and make them playful and see if you get a response.
Yeah. And this probably is one of the most difficult things for guys who are somewhat analytical and somewhat left-brained.
They're over-analyzing what to say, aren't they? They're filtering themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. That really, I think in the last few years of working with different guys and helping them on their path, it's very clear that this is one of the big barriers to success, isn't it? Actually, it's not what people think. It's not, oh, has he got a jawline like Clavicular? It's actually, is he able to be sort of fun and amusing and charming in a real life situation? And a lot of guys, unfortunately, aren't, or at least they can train to get to that point, but they're very constrained in their own minds and their own seriousness. And that just doesn't play very well in the modern dating market.
Yeah, you want to be light-hearted, playful, curious, and self-amused as a base thing. Almost a bit childlike. That's a childlike state that most children are in, but it's an attractive mindset, an attractive place to be because you're just enjoying socializing. If you think about most people having conversations, it's very logical, very matter of fact, and it's very anti-fun. But if you're going in there deliberately just saying stuff that slightly ruffles feathers just to get a reaction, like I'll often say basic stuff and I'll use it throughout the day, and it's almost, you'd think it was just very average humor, but these are lines that always work. So, you know, if a person comes back, I'm eating in a cafe or restaurant, doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter whether it's the owner, you know, the waiter, the waitress, if they go, how's your food? Expectingly, because the place is good, expecting me to go, oh, it's great. I'm always like, oh, it's absolutely terrible. And then I look up at them like, you know, just kind of cheeky eye contact, and they all laugh, right? Because again, it breaks the pattern, it breaks the mold.
Yeah.
And it's injecting little bits like this throughout the day. It's a good way to train your sense of humor. And I think self-amusement, enjoying your own experience, and then trying to be a vibe lifter is so underrated. It's so underrated because no one does it, and it trains yourself. It trains you to be self-amusing, playful, which the vibe people want to be around. Also makes your life way more fun. Right? Who wants to be trapped in their heads all day being serious? I mean, it's not especially with the feminine, right? You're interacting with women. Guess what? They don't want a guy who's super trapped in his own head, super logical with her. That's not what women get off on, right? So you're training that's a skill set which is going to help you be more social and be more attractive a proposition to be around for yourself, you know, because ultimately it's your own life, but also for other people. People want to be around people that make them feel good, who are having fun, and not taking life too seriously. We always talk about the 3 Ps as a social home to come back to: present, positive, and playful. If you train that relentlessly, you're going to drift away from that. But if you come back to that frequently throughout the day and then inject random conversation, you know, random comments, you can't really go wrong. That's a great
yeah.
base. I think this bit, like you said, I think it's the cement that holds the brickwork of the approaches together. I think without this, just doing the reps, it only gets you so far. I think actually just being a kind of social animal with a playful lens is so important, you know?
Yes. And then there's the whole sexual polarity thing. But I mean, maybe that's the next stage.
So what do you mean by that? If guys are like, what sexual polarity? What does that mean, Troy?
Well, I mean, just when you're in the interaction, just she needs to be aware on some reason that you are on some level, that you are attracted to her and that you're looking to move things forward. So it's that playful Jack the Lad thing. You know, there's the glint in the eye. There's the subtext of, oh, right, he's flirting with me. But maybe for guys who are right at the beginning of this, it's more about, okay, just dial in. Firstly, talk to people. And secondly, try to make it a bit playful. And then maybe you can layer in the other stuff after that.
Yeah, I think the two phases, if you want to sum it up into identities that guys can step into, because that's often easier than thinking about all the habits they have to do. First one is playful social animal, playful social freedom animal. So just be able to talk to people, put a playful tint on it. Second one is mischievous masculine. So think about that guy with a twinkle in his eye. How would he act? He's going to ruffle feathers there. He's going to kind of cause problems there, but he's doing it for self-amusing, mischievous kind of masculine purposes, right? That's the two frames you want to think of. Step one, social animal with a playful tint. Step two, mischievous masculine. You know, the guy at school, right? Everyone's got the kind of guy at school who was getting sucked off through the fence. Who was basically like,
I haven't quite had that, but
well, like there was always a guy at school, right, who was just slaying, and everyone's like, oh, for fuck's sake, that guy again. But what did he have in his eye? Almost certainly this mischievous masculine, you know, playful, not taking girls seriously, not taking women seriously, seeing them as amusing little creatures. Not in a derogatory way, in a way they can bring me a lot of fun and joy, but not taking them seriously as people, and not taking people seriously. I think there's a danger of just taking everyone way too seriously. Think about what a total car crash most people's inner worlds are, and then what we're doing is we're projecting outwards, thinking other people aren't like that. They all fucking are, right? So you should never take other human beings too seriously in an amusing way, as you shouldn't take yourself too seriously, right? So just a less serious tint on life across the board would be helpful for the correct attitudes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what we come just before we cover some parish notices, what have we got coming up if guys do want to join our boot camps and not mug us and not sell us crack?
Well, Bogota, the big
Bogota,
one.
16th and 22nd of April. What's going to happen in Bogota, Mr. Francis?
Everything.
And nothing.
Everything's going to happen. We've got a residential boot camp happening in Bogota from the 16th to the 22nd of April. So you're going to be living in a house, luxury pad in the center of Bogota, great location, with coaches and the other gentlemen who are on the training. Okay, we're capped at 8 people. I think there's maybe a couple of spots left, 1 or 2 spots left. We're going to be going out with you every day, taking you out into the streets, into the cafes, into the shopping malls. We're going to be meeting beautiful women because Bogota's absolutely full of beautiful women. Have a bit of a break. Then later on, we're going to be going out again into the evening, into the bars, potentially into a club or two here and there. And then at the end of the night, we're going to be bringing all of the ladies that you've met back into the house, crazy parties, all kinds of things going on there. It's going to be just a blast. The other thing is we've got wing girls. So we're going to have wing girls there as well on hand to help you with your riz, to help you with your, all aspects really. What do you think of this outfit? Oh, I think why didn't you try it like this? They're going to be there to banter with you, to help you with your verbal game. They'll be there to help you get into interactions with other girls outside. It's just going to be an absolute immersion in this stuff. We're going to do a load of approaches. We're going to be feeding back on every single approach, telling you where it's going well, telling you where it's, you need to tweak it a little bit. So we're going to be course correcting on the way. Absolute rock solid immersion in this for a set period of time. There's no better way, really, is there, to break into the modern dating market than doing a reset like this?
100%. And also, we've got the habits guy, Eddie, coming down to give guys some kind of free lessons on just having a calm nervous system. We've got Laveau, the voice coach, coming down to hypnotize guys before they approach, so they just approach without any fear. And we've got the BDSM guy, Justin, giving a couple of talks where he's demonstrating on a hot girl some light dominance and leading techniques. This is all included. So it's going to be fucking phenomenal. Myself, Troy, and Les will be there. Mr. David Garcia, the world's horniest half Mexican, half American man, will be there as well. And Big Mike McCarthy, our old favorite client. If you're watching this, Big Mike McCarthy, dick out of hand, arse on plane. Let's make it happen. And if you can't make that,
some of our client all-stars are coming to this one as well.
Yes,
so
Walrus are everyone's favourite Walrus who likes to be tickled under the chin. You know, and he purrs like a walrus. Wigfield, you know, Saturday night.
Saturday night dance, I like the way you move.
Mr. M is threatening a reappearance, wearing his green check shirts to scare all the world. So it'll be good to see him. But if you can't make Bogota, myself and Troy will be the last weekend of April in Buenos Aires as well with 4 clients. We've got space for 2 more. No, space for 1 more. We've got 3 signed up. So join us for that. Buenos Aires is an awesome city. Smoke show Argentinian women. Very high level of gringo factor because there's not many tourists there that go there to Buenos Aires. Lucrative for approaching in the day and night. And
yes,
obviously the best meat and red wine, best steak and red wine in the world as well, if that's something
and
that interests you.
We will be throwing in a tour to where Liam Payne died as well, just for
Oh yeah, of course. That was where he snuffed it, yeah.
And
we'll probably go to Cordoba afterwards. So we're going to do a little add-on, which is the second city in Argentina after Buenos Aires to Cordoba. Smoke show women there. Really just cool place to be, very friendly, upbeat. And yeah, Argentina, it's a fantastic place. Really is. Excited for that. So we got Bogota in Argentina, mid-April and end of April. And if you can't make either of those and you prefer to meet us in Europe, mid-May, we're in the jewel of the European crown, Warsaw. Myself, Troy, and Les again, with a number of clients, and that's an excellent place to approach. Smoke show Polish women, also Ukrainians, Belarusians, awesome, strutting around the summer sun. It's a fantastic place to be. So highly recommend that. Get in touch if any of those float your boat, or if you have any other questions, and if you're thinking, fuck, it's time to fucking get out there and be social. I want to actually stop living through these fuckers and go and actually fuck some women myself. Now is the time. So send us an email, info@jamestuss.com or troy@royaltroyfrancis.com with the title Crack Addiction. I mean, the title, hello, and include your WhatsApp number.
Yes. Do either of you ever get mistaken for Steve Jabber?
All the time. Because I'm often roaming around the Philippines handing out crumpled notes to women. So yes, of course.
Cigarettes, coffee, and crack podcast. That's the new format. Absolutely. Well, that's always the format, really.
Sutats is a long-term viewer. He's had that. I recognize that thumbnail from way back when. It's awesome.
Jonathan Atol says, found my first wing in NYC. Also on a streak of meeting Polish, Ukrainian, Russian, Belarusians here. Cold approach results in strange patterns sometimes. Yeah.
Also, Jonathan Atol, if you'd like to be put in touch with some other wings, I've got a number of myself and Troy. I've got a number of former clients who live in NYC, so we can put you in touch. Send us an email. Stick you in touch with some wings there.
Doesn't Cold Approach pretty much follow the same format as those Tinder Sankey diagrams? I'm not sure what you mean by that. It will be interesting to see how the odds differ from dating apps. We kind of went through this actually. Like we would say globally, it's 30 approaches to 1 new conquest, let's say. The odds are actually better than Tinder because Tinder, you'd be looking at
way better. You're swiping thousands and thousands to get a few from P6s, right? It's just not.
Yeah. So the odds are absolutely better than Tinder. What about this? What do you think about joining? Now, here we go. We've got some people talking about salsa. What do you think about joining dance schools like salsa? Not necessarily to meet women, but to keep you in social mode and be regularly exposed to women.
As a side thing to do, as long as you're actually going out and doing what needs to be done, which is facing this shit head on, which is talking to lots of people throughout the day whenever you get the chance, and also doing the reps, right? Just seeing the girl, you think she's hot, you go and start the conversation on those terms. If you're doing those 2 things already, then yes, you could add in salsa as a way to be regularly exposed to women, dance, which is close bodily contact, which is actually good for loosening you up if you got, some sexual shame, and keeping you in social mode. I don't see an issue with that. But if you're avoiding being social with the world and avoiding doing the approaches, which is ultimately the best way of actually sleeping with hot women, is guess what? Go and talk to hot women and try and seduce hot women. If you're avoiding those 2 things, then salsa is a cop out. But as an addition, if you're doing the reps that you should be doing each week, salsa can be a complement. But I would not do it. A lot of guys just want to skip the whole, oh no, I won't worry about the approach thing. No, that's the whole point. Yeah. I'm just going to do the salsa thing. And no, it's like, okay, you can go to the salsa stuff, hit on a few girls, fine. But you're still very limited because the whole pain is seeing all these hot women walk around your life if you're in a normal sized place and not be able to speak to them. That's an incredibly frustrating place to be for a masculine man, right? If you consider yourself somewhat cool. So that's
the issue with salsa is often it's used as a avoidance technique.
Yes.
Because also, how social can you really be? Because I mean,
you're dancing away.
Are you going to talk to people at the beginning? Are you going to hang around and talk to people at the end? Otherwise, you're in the class. So you get partnered with a girl and you've got to dance with her a bit. But you're like, how social are you actually being? I mean, all of this stuff, great as a side thing. But really, all you need to do is go out and talk to 3 to 5 people a day, and then that will get you a lot further.
Occam's razor, right? It's me and Troy and Les are always joking about how guys will do anything to get out of just doing the reps. And the Occam's razor thing is the simplest solution is usually the best. Guess what? If you want to get good at speaking to women and flirting with women, guess what you've just got to do every day? Without any salsa involved, with no Toastmasters, no riding a unicycle, with a crossbow at dawn, right? None of this shit. Just speak to the opposite sex and try and do it in a playful way, and you will get better. You need direct exposure. None of these side hustles. They can be useful additions, but that's all they are, useful additions.
Well, the other thing, of course, is going down the spiritual rabbit hole where it's like, I need to work on my, I need to work on my presence. So I'm going to go into the jungle with a group of guys, and we're gonna punch pillows and yell, do primal scream therapy and stuff. And it's like all of that stuff, fine, but it's not gonna. Then when you're in front of the very attractive woman, and you've got to shoot your shot, how that stuff isn't going to help you.
No.
Then legal automation says, I'm not disagreeing with anything you say, but I live in a city of 20 million people and I don't even speak to 20 unique people per week. Life as a software engineer is fairly isolated.
Well, that's on you, isn't it? Because you have to, if you change your desk all day, you have to find time. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, whether you're Jeff Bezos, right, with his billions, or the hobo on the street. What are you doing with the time? You have breaks, presumably before work or after work or at lunch break during the week. Walk the fuck out the house or drive your car or get a taxi and walk around somewhere social and talk to people. It's not hard. If you had your family was hostage and they said, right, we're going to fucking kill your family unless you speak to 20 people this week. Do you think you're going to be able to do it? Fuck yes. So it's a lack of prioritization. You live in a city with 20 million people. There are options there. There are 20 million people there. So it's lack of your planning and it's strategic avoidance. That's your issue, nothing else. If you struggle with this, because most guys do, because they don't have the social freedom to begin, what we recommend is join us on a boot camp where we throw you into 100, 200 approach over the course of a weekend, break the back of the anxiety, and then you have social freedom so you can speak to people. And then we work on the flirting bit. So it's in your hands. Like, you've laid it out there. If you said you lived in a village of 2,000 people, I'd be a bit more empathetic. But you live in a place of 20 million people and you can't approach 20 people a week or even start a conversation with 20 people a week. That's a lack of social freedom, nothing else.
Absolutely. And then third comes back on the salsa thing. They can work for sure. I was doing salsa a few classes a couple of 6 times a week. 6 times a week, a couple of summers back. Met a couple of women, mainly made male friends though. So just be careful and focus with them. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because he was doing it hardcore. Met a couple of
even LeBeau, the voice coach, who's very, very good at salsa and lives in the capital of the salsa world, Cali, says basically the people that do salsa are just not very good socially. That's why he thinks they do it. His secret kind of
I just think,
and also he said you don't get laid like a rock star. He's a good
I don't know why. I don't know why.
And he doesn't.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. He was just saying, you speak.
I don't know why salsa has become this. It's a bit like every stream we do, somebody mentions Estonia and Tallinn, and somebody mentions salsa. It's like, why
they haven't mentioned salsa in Tallinn yet, but that's going to be on the list.
But why has salsa become this sort of go-to for men?
Because on paper it does look good. It's a bit like Bikram yoga. On paper it looks good because when I got given 10 Bikram discounts of Bikram yoga, hot yoga sessions in London when I was still living there in London Bridge. Went along. It was 90% women, like hot women, and I was one of the only guys. And so I can understand from the outsider point of view. Oh, mate, if you wanna fuck a few birds, get down to Bikram. But the reality is, you're a sweaty fucking mess. All these women are actually really good. I'm there, like in the corner, like some sort of wibbly, like inflexible plank of words. And then afterwards, everyone's jacked up, but they all just head off. There's no sit around and let's have an orgy. It doesn't work like that. The same with salsa. I think on paper, guys are thinking, oh, you know what? To get out the cold approach, mate, secret cheat code salsa. It's like Laveau does this shit in Cali. He's a good, jacked, tall gringo. He's very good. He speaks fluent Spanish. And after 6 years of doing it, he's still like, man, honestly, you don't really meet many hot girls at salsa and it doesn't really go anywhere. You know, so that if that's not an indication of that's not going to work. Now, if you want to get more into your body, because a lot of Anglosphere guys are quite stuck in their head and then they're not very in flow, like say Brazilians are. They're not good at dancing. They're a bit awkward. They're a bit stiff. I don't see an issue with that because it can be very helpful to open yourself up with that type of movement.
Yes.
But if you're doing it to get, be honest about it. Are you doing it for that, or are you doing it to get legs? You don't want to do the approaching, because if it's the latter, forget it. Just just get out there and speak to people.
Is Warsaw or Budapest better for cold approach in May?
Warsaw,
100%.
And we will be there in May as well. So we're going to be there in May and September. So if you're keen to join us, Mr. Ed Norton from Fight Club, then come down, send us an email and join us.
Yeah, Troy@realtroyfrancis.com and info@jamestusk.com. And then we're getting some pushback here. So, bros, it's not realistic to be working full-time, staying fit, building money, and having to drive somewhere daily where women congregate to do 20 approaches per week. We all have other.
Well, me and Troy, before we became full-time crack hunter, dating coaches, and decided to go all in with this. We were both doing that relentlessly. Yeah. We had city jobs. Yeah. We're doing other shit. We're going to the gym. We had social lives, and we're going out doing at least 20 approaches a week, probably far more when I was involving night game as well. So it's not unachievable.
It's not unachievable. The only thing that rings an alarm bell here is he says you have to drive somewhere daily to where women congregate. So it might be that he lives in a bit of a shit place, and that is a problem for some clients. But I mean, look, look. This is why we tend to confine ourselves to cities, right? So he's traveling the whole time, but he goes to cities for the most part, right, where there is a big congregation of women. I live in London, so I don't have this issue because I can just walk out the door, and I'm probably going to see 4 or 5 attractive women, right? So you've got to put yourself where the action is. And if you can't do that because of work and because of where you live or whatever, then you have to travel. You have to start traveling and going to, not necessarily driving every day, but then it's like, right, I'll go and meet these guys in Colombia, right? Because Colombia, Bogota, you don't have this problem. So, but in terms of planning your life, in the end, if you really want to get good at this stuff, you've got to go somewhere where there's a lot of traffic. I mean, that's just sort of how it is, isn't it?
Yeah, and Troy makes a great point. Top load this into, take some action over long 4-day weekend with us. Do loads of approaches. We'll throw you in, get the social freedom element trained, and then you can, throughout the week, if it is very sparse on the ground, you can take the opportunities if you see them. But then on the weekends, you can drive or take the train or whatever you need to do to get to a bigger area, and you can top load your socializing into those 2 days. That's still better than doing nothing, right? The ideal thing is you're able to go out every day, flirt with the world, banter with the world, train that social freedom, playful social freedom, and also do the reps. But if you can't do that, we've got clients who work in very fast-paced, crazy, hectic corporate jobs. They just don't have the time, and or they do live in more kind of remote parts, whatever. Then they'll top load their socializing on the weekend, and they'll still do their 20 approaches, but they just cram it into 2 days. And that's way better. It's a bit like you going, right, I can't train every day at the gym 5 days a week and take 2 days off of the weekend. But what I can do, because my work's really busy and I want to be in shape, is I can train I can eat clean, 5 days a week, and then I can train on the weekend. That's still immeasurably better than just not training at all. Yes. So yes, it's not ideal, but it can be worked around.
Yeah, and he says you need to be retired to have this much time, but you really don't.
You really don't. We all get the same 168 hours in the week. It's how you allocate them. Do you allocate them to doom scrolling on Instagram, watching this nonsense that we're spouting out and wanking? Because if you do, then stop doing that and go and talk to women instead.
Yeah. What do you do when she says she only dates guys within a certain age range and you're older?
Well, how old are we talking?
Yeah, nobody's ever directly said that to me. They might.
You're the poster boy. I love working with you, for many reasons, but one of the few. One of the many reasons is you're 51 years young. You look great, and it dispels any of these myths around around you can't bang younger women. Because I've traveled with you consistently date women in their prime between 18 and 25, and never, ever, ever have I heard the age thing come up. So it throws all of this out the window that you can't date younger women at a certain age.
No, and like I said the other day, even in London, even in the Anglosphere, I'm dealing with this girl who's significantly younger than, she's about 18 or something, and she's like blowing up my phone the whole time. So no, it doesn't happen. But look, I mean, I'm not sure this specific situation anyway, I'm not sure even really happens. She's more likely to just reject you because I'm sure I've been rejected by some girls because they think I'm too old. I'm sure that's happened, but they haven't said it. They're just like, no, I've got a boyfriend, whatever. Right. So yeah, I mean, but I mean, the ultimate answer to this is, well, you don't date her, you go and date someone else. You know,
yeah. If you're getting it as a verbal objection, so it's a different, as Troy said, hidden objection. Yeah. Yes, it probably does happen, right? But women are quite indirect; they're not going to confront the issue unless you actually look really fucking old, and you are really fucking old. So maybe some nuance in your age would be good. But also, if you've got it, women are very good. They've got a dog scent on picking up in insecurity in men. If you have an issue in your head that you're too old because you haven't dated younger women, you need that reference experience. That will manifest as women pick up on it. So because Troy doesn't give a flying fuck about the age thing, women just don't care either.
Yeah.
But it also helps he looks younger. But even if he didn't look younger, if he just genuinely didn't care, it's probably not going to, and he got a young, playful energy, it's just not going to present. But if you have these insecurities that you genuinely have with women, women just can pick up on them. It's crazy, right? It's how the universe works.
Yeah, and honorary mention to David Garcia as well, because he's what, 79 now, and he's still.
I mean, he's a good-looking rooster as well, but he's 57, and he still dates 18 to 25-year-olds with no issues. So it just goes to show. And we've got Client, Mr. R. He regularly dates women who are late 20s. He's 63, so honestly, it's probably not that big an issue as you think it is. And remember as well, men hit their prime late 30s. So if you're anything around that age, that's definitely not too old. That's in your prime.
Did you guys see Bane's review of these lads? Need some updated footage, lads.
No. I mean, someone sent it to me, but anyone that builds, again, I've said this with many content creators, anyone that builds a brand on slagging off other content creators, it's like, do you not have a better message than that? It's just a very anti-masculine thing to do. It's just like, where's your message at? Why aren't you focusing on providing value to guys and putting out a consistent message? Why are you?
Yeah,
we've had it so many times. They all are, man. Any man, like, would you really trust any man that just builds a brand on slagging off other men?
Yeah.
What a complete waste of time.
Yeah,
like, utter waste of time.
It's pretty sad because his numbers are bad. You know, he doesn't get any numbers.
I think a lot of people read the 48 Laws of Power and they're like, oh, let me Robert Greene it, slag off the competition. It's like, yeah, if you're a complete fan, I'll do that. But if you've got a fucking message, you don't have time to do that.
Yeah, it's sad, you know. Just had a date with an Italian from Day Game. What was his name? Made out, but she didn't want to come. Oh, sorry. Made out, but she didn't want to come back to mine. What are your experiences with Italians? I'm not sure this is to do with the country she's from. I've had a couple of experiences with Italians. They've been pretty good. But yeah, I don't think it's the fact that she's Italian that's the issue here, really. She's just, I don't know. We need to know more about the situation to untangle that one, to be honest.
Yeah, it's too.
Yeah, sorry.
What was it? No, it's fine. Go on to the next one because he's trying to dispel what advice we're giving. Our methods, this is your fail-safe. Our methods did not work for you because you didn't put in the work. But the workload is not realistic. The workload is realistic. 20 approaches a week is not a huge amount.
We're talking minimum two conversations a day. And those conversations
at the lowest, at a bare minimal viable action would be 15 a week, which is just over just over 2 approaches a day. It's like 2 approaches a day and 1 person in a wheelchair. And if you hit that, I mean, that will take you, let's say realistically every conversation you have is 5 minutes long. Times that by 15, 75 minutes of your time in a week of 168 hours. I mean, how is it not?
Yeah, that's a good point, because the other thing to bear in mind is these don't need to be long conversations. And in many cases, they won't be, because if you walk up to somebody this morning and you say, oh, hi, you look really cool, I wanted to come over and say hello. And she says, oh, sorry, I've got a boyfriend. That still counts, because what you're calculating is the approaches, the number of times you put yourself out there. If she just goes, yeah, I've got a boyfriend, and she walks off, that still counts. You've done one. And that's taken, 30 seconds? So, yeah, I think...
now, obviously, to be fair, just to renege slightly, you do need time to walk around and actually see the women. But again, if you just go for a walk every day and you don't live in a village, you're going to see opportunities. I think instead of finding ways to not make it work, which is super easy because that's the default state, right? Negativity and hiding the comfort zone. Why don't you flip it on its head and try and be resourceful and find ways to make it work? Because that is an incredibly useful trait to cultivate in life. The will to win, right? Resourcefulness. It's an attractive trait to get you what you want in life, but also women will see that and love it, right? It's an incredibly problem solve in real time. Can I figure out this puzzle? I'm sure you can, but are you finding ways not to figure it out because it's easier to stay in your comfort zone? Yes, by the sound of this comment. Yeah.
can there be such a thing as too much confidence? I know a guy who's good looking, but he thinks he's better than 90% of women he sees. Should his mentality change to be more humble? I guess
probably with men. Probably with men it should, because I'm a big believer in like be humble with other men, because that's how you win men over. But actually, a bit of kind of playful arrogance can be fucking catnip to women. So it depends on how has he got jerk boy charisma? Because if he does, he's going to be getting laid like a rock star. And actually, I would say you have to kind of believe you're better than the girl. Like, it sounds controversial, but women want to mate across and up. They want to be with a guy they consider better than them. Right?
So it depends. This specific guy, it depends what his actual results are like. Because if he's doing fine, then obviously he doesn't need to change anything. But I would say for probably 99% of guys who are watching this stream, his attitude is probably something to aspire to.
Yeah.
Right? As a mental frame, it's probably better to have this attitude than it is to be like, oh, I'm a bit of a flannel. Oh, I'm not good enough for these girls, but I guess I'll give it a go.
It's way better, isn't it? Most men are totally self-defeating. And women pick up on that. Whereas if you think you're worth something, good, right? You've got to be your own biggest backer. You've got to be your own biggest fan. Because if you don't believe you can fucking get that girl, she definitely believes you can't get her.
Yeah.
Right.
The one category of women I struggle with the most is posh hipster English women. I don't know why that is, but it's just my anecdotal experience. Yeah, I know what you mean. I think it's always difficult with people from the same country as you, and I think guys from any country, like American guys, find it with American girls because there's nowhere to hide, is there? There's no mystique. There's no sort of there's no exotic.
There's no gringo factor. There's no like me walking around Sao Paulo. Oh, where are you from? From London?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And they find that very culturally.
The problem with English people is pretty much we can always tell pretty much immediately. We get a very good grasp on the person immediately, and there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it does deflate the mystery somewhat, doesn't it? So you don't have that benefit. But that's not to say that it's not possible with English girls.
We've both dated. I remember. I mean, you've dated a fair few. You still live there, but I even doing day game stuff where the common rhetoric was, "Oh, you can't. It doesn't work on English birds." I dated a number of English women from day game. So
absolutely.
Why would you want to as the thing? Because personally, to be honest, I find women from other countries way more attractive.
Well, just to put in a good word for our English sisters out there, I think there are some absolute stunners. To be fair, it's just that we're not quite as genetically blessed. I mean, it's not Ukraine, is it? You know?
No, not Ukraine. Where you get fucking smoke shows, even working in McDonald's. The first time I went to Odessa, Ukraine, about 15 years ago, walked into the McDonald's, and I've never seen so many hot girls, and they were working behind the counter. I was just like, what is this place I've arrived at? It's insane.
Well, I remember the McDonald's on Kreshchatyk in Kyiv. I remember going in there, and there was absolute smoke shows just sitting there eating chicken nuggets. I saw this girl, and she literally could have been a model. And I got her number. I was in touch with her for a bit, and nothing ever happened because I left the country and there was the war, blah, blah, blah. But just absolutely stunning. Just sitting there with a Big Mac, like chicken nuggets and stuff, I mean, in London, she would be in Sketch or something, some like high-end restaurant getting paid for by some.
These YouTube, that's a great story. And also these YouTube names never fail to disappoint, do they?
Yeah,
the Arab Brad Pitt, but he's looking somewhat Mr. Beanish, if I must say.
Yeah.
In the photo.
In Western countries like the UK, the US, are women less receptive to cold approach than they were before the Me Too radical feminist movement? No, I don't think so. I agree
with you. I agree.
On the ground, those two things that you're mentioning don't really play into it. Unless, I mean, you might meet the wrong person and she's very.
It doesn't play into it though, because they might have like everyone, they might have all these ideals in their head. But as to kind of quote the Mike Tyson quote, right? Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. If you're a good-looking, attractive dude with presence and charm, and you approach a girl, she's just in the moment. She's like, oh, okay. I'm dealing with this now. Forget all her worldviews that she talks about, over coffee to her mates. She's in the moment and it's very present. It's right. Am I attracted to this man or not? All of that goes out the window.
There's quite a big disconnect between what gets talked about online and what happens in the real world. Because if you're on X and stuff like that, you can fall into the fact that, there's all these crazy radical feminists out there and they hate men and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I've literally, I don't think I've ever met anybody. I've never met a crazy greenhead feminist in my entire life.
No, nor have I.
And yet, if you go on to X, you think they're all over the place, like taking over the country. It's just not the reality. Most girls are, they're feminist in the sense, they think women should have jobs, they think women should have an education, but they're not like some kind of man-hating crazed monsters.
I wouldn't, and I also wouldn't say the opinions of any people. Again, self-amusement, not taking people too seriously, because you get girls spouting the good spout. I've seen this on Instagram. And I've actually met one, and she was very kind of feminist, radical, all this stuff. And it turns out she's got fucking OnlyFans, and she's being made airtight by 5 black lads. It's like, how feminist really are you? Right? You may be spouting that to the masses who give a shit, who pretend to give a shit, and then behind closed doors. So again, don't take people's opinions too seriously. Don't worry about the political climate too much. Now, and we're not saying fly to Iran and do cold approach within reason, right? But you approach the average hot girl in the Anglosphere. If you know what you're doing, you're still going to have a shot with her. So her political views and whatever wokeism is not going to have that much impact.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a couple here. So he's saying, this Aurelius is saying, have you had much success with Italians from day game in the past? Well, yes, actually I have. So I met this Italian girl in London. She was working as a barista, and I was using the methods that we talk about here. And it wasn't a harder nut to crack at all. I mean, she was very up for it, actually. So you can't generalize, I don't think. I mean, Italian girls it's kind of a Latin culture. I mean, they're more sensual than British girls, put it that way. Torero used to say the average time it would take to sleep with a girl was 2 days. Do you think that's still true? No.
I don't think he did say that, actually. He made a product called the Girlfriend Sequence. He said the ideal thing to do is sleep with her after the second date, because you do all this other stuff to invest her before. But I don't think he actually said that. The average time. So it's nonsense. Like, if you're presenting in lover mode, we both present in lover mode most of the time on purpose. We're trying to sleep with the girl the same day. And sometimes it doesn't happen, but we're never going in there not trying to take her home.
Yes, exactly. And then Hayes says, RJ, I wish I had some posh English here. We have tattooed angry short hair around here. Okay, well maybe all the angry feminists live in his town then.
Sounds like kind of like fat guinea pigs that are let out of like a sty, and going around picking up like packs of quavers. So,
he did say that in his book Day Game. I read it recently. Well,
again, this was written 20 years ago, so again, I wouldn't say it's necessarily relevant. The actual question, to be fair to him, was what was the average? The average time it takes. Well, look, some guys who are clueless will take 5 days to sleep with a girl. Promoters who have massive access to women will take the girl home without even a date. So I don't think averages matter, but what's best? I would say always best to sleep with a girl as quickly as possible, because until you fucked her, you don't actually have any relevance to her. She might like you, she might be in love with your worldview, but unless your dick has gone inside her, to be quite crude, you don't have any actual relevance to her.
What you have to remember as well is that Torero wrote Day Game. That was basically his first book, and it was a collection of reports from very early in his journey. He then transitioned, not into a woman, but he transitioned into more sort of bad boy style presentation. And so, I mean, the overall average, it might be a couple of days. Because remember, early on in his career as well, Torero was doing crazy adventure dates, taking a girl up the Thames on a boat and all this kind of thing, which we would absolutely not recommend in any shape or form. So his ideas changed, and his view of everything changed over his time while he was working on this stuff.
Yeah, that's a great point. He was actually presenting as kind of, blazer in some of the early videos I saw, wasn't he? Almost how we dress. And then he shifted more into the leather jacket guy. But forget what he's up to in that sense. It's more about how you're presenting. If you're really keen to sleep with girls the first date, but it's not happening until the second or third date, you're presenting as not the sexual option or there's something off in your date game. So it's more about what you should be doing. And we both believe sleep with the girl as quickly as possible, because then the power dynamic changes. You can still fuck it up from being needy, which I've done many times, but generally speaking, you fuck the girl, you can decide how it plays out. So the quicker you can do that, then the quicker the power shifts. And also for me, I'm a big believer, for me, sexual chemistry is massively important. I want to sleep with the girl as quickly as possible, because I want to see, have we got actual sexual chemistry? Because the Anglosphere model is, and an Eastern European model is, typically take a little bit longer on the courting process, 2-3 dates. But then the problem with that is, I've had it sometimes, is you get your kid off with a girl. She's not actually that attractive with her kid off. She's just not quite your type. She'll look great with clothes on, right? Again, it's marketing. And also the sexual chemistry just isn't that good. Whereas if you sleep with a girl very fast, which is the modeling Scandinavia or in Brazil, very sexual places, it's great because we see, is the sexual chemistry? Oh yeah, there is sexual chemistry. Right. We're going to bother to get to know each other now. So that's a way better system. So I would sleep with a girl as quickly as you can in a calibrated way.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, that's about it for the parish notices. So shall we call this one to a close today?
Let's call it a wrap and go and pick up some crack. I mean, log off until next time. Send us an email, info@jamestuss.com or troy@realtroyfrance.com if you're just interested in discussing the boot camps. Include your WhatsApp number. That's how we communicate. And we will see you in a stream again soon.
And join us in Colombia because crack's not cheap, guys. Well, it is cheap, actually, but when you get a habit, it's not cheap.